Okay, well, let's finish up our setup for Red November here. First, I'm going to start with green, in counterclockwise. That's the order I have set up on the track anyway. It's going to show up in room 8. And likewise, randomize the rest. Yellow's here, and he must be the captain. And red in room 4. That gives us a nice little split there. Everybody's going to get 2 of these counters. Now, these are secret, but I'm going to leave them face up. What do we got there? We got 2, those look like books for fixing the engine. Kind of sucks to have both of them in one person's hands, but well, it'll work out. He's got some vodka and a fire extinguisher. I'm sorry, grog. This is the Aqualung, this little rubber ducky, and the Kraken hunting thing. Now those are really good combination if the Kraken shows up, but the Kraken can't show up till I'm through the deck once. So that's kind of a shame to get those at this point. Not that they can't get thrown back in. Another engineering book, and then another Kraken killing fishing rod or whatever. Alright. Let me make sure. It doesn't look like anything's wrong. There's got to be something wrong, doesn't there? No, I guess not. Which to me means green ought to open things up by drawing for some items. Right? So, you can see the cost on that is 1 to 4 plus 2. He's got to open the door. That's going to cost him one action. We'll take the little white marker to move that ahead, because that's going to keep track of how far we moved so that we can see how many draws we get. And now, well, I seem to remember there being a hand limit other than the drop limit, but I can't find it. And it says any number can be played in each turn. See if the draw tiles action tells me anything about this. Working my way through this rule book just sucks. I mean, I don't see any limit. I think the point is you don't want a whole bunch. Yeah, I don't see any penalty except if the event happens where you end up having to discard. Now, I think you want to keep a reasonable amount, but we were moving who? Green. He moved? Or, no, green's first. He doesn't have to do anything. I was counting yellow there. Green's in the space, so he's going to draw himself 4 tiles from the bag. Now that takes up some time, so we're going to get some events, and that's of course a problem. He gets a crowbar. Looks like a missile launch code, maybe. Yeah, the deactivation code for the launch. Is that a fire extinguisher? No, that's a water pump. What do the numbers on there mean? They're the bonus that you get, I think. That says, yeah, the number on there is, and that looks like a fire extinguisher. Now he's gone 2 stars. That means he gets to draw 2 event tokens. He doesn't have a lucky coin or whatever. Oh, wait, the lucky charm is the duck. I'm sorry. That's not the Aqualung. Who's got the lucky charm? Because if he had it, he might want to play it here. Alright, so the first thing, advance the pressure track by 2. Okay, now here comes the problem. Which one's the pressure track? This is asphyxiation. There's no indication on the card that tells you. So what you have to do is you have to look back and see which track is it. Well, these are just labeled as disaster tracks, and then they're listed elsewhere maybe, but they're not actually specified there. So you got to flip through some more and find which one aligns with which, because of course you're not going to remember this, even if you just went through the rules like I did, 20 minutes ago and then came to recover from it. So I paged through these rules some more, and this is the fun of the game, of course. Once you find it out, you'll never have this fun again until the next time you play. Damned if I know which is which. Because they're not clearly indicated on there. Neither on here nor on there, which is which. You've got these little symbols, but they don't really apply. I know this is oxygen because that makes no sense. I think this is something like energy or something, and therefore pressure is going to be this one. But, yep. The heat track, the pressure is the engine room, room 1, which means it's going to be this track. So that goes up by 2. So now I have a problem. That gives blue something to try to fix, though. So that's kind of cool. Now I get a second card. The reactor pump, the heat track goes up by 1. Now, which one's the heat? Well, we know this is pressure, and we know this is asphyxiation, so I'll call this one heat. And we're beginning to see problems happen. Now, green has done his movement. He did no movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he did that. So now it's yellow's turn, and we swim over to yellow. Yellow sees that there are already problems, but there are people in place for those problems. His equipment doesn't really help with that, so he's going to do basically the same thing. He's going to spend 1 movement to open the door. He gets to walk in for free. And now that he's ended his movement, 1, 2, 3, 4, he's going to grab a pile of stuff. And he gets another fire extinguisher, a pump, a crowbar, and another engine manual. And now again, I've got 2 draws. Respite. Bonus. Nothing happens. Stumble. He discards down to 1 item tile. Now, theoretically, does he know what the other players have? This is always an iffy thing to me in the game. There's no real advantage to keeping this out of the other players' minds, as it were. I think it's more fun to keep it secret, but, well, these things seem the least important, so now the question is, what about the pump and the fire extinguisher? He wants to keep one of those. I'm more bothered by fire extinguisher than anything else, so they go back in the bag and get tossed together. And now he's moved up to time 5, which means we'll be up to the blue player. The blue player is sitting over here in the engine room. He wants to try to fix the engine room. Okay. His chance is based on how much time he wants to spend on it. I like to keep these down, but of course the longer you spend, the more problems you run into. What he's going to do is he's going to spend himself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If he goes to 9 slots fixing that engine, he will likely repair it. That's a lot of time, but he's got his lucky ducky. 9 means I think he only fails on a 10. Well, why doesn't he go up to 10 slots? Great. That gets him a draw, and I think he gets an automatic success on that. So that drops it back to the last star. He's going to play his ducky. I'm not sure the little tiles go back. I'll check that and come back. Of course, I threw a bunch of them in there, but I think they may just get discarded. I'll check that because the ducky is kind of important. Indeed, that's the case. So there's a pile of discards, and I put them in the box, but that's goofy. That's where I like to roll the die for this. It doesn't make much noise. It's a tiny box, so it's not bad. So yeah, so I'm going to keep my discards here, and I tried to fish out everything. I may have missed one. It's not a big deal. So the first 3 stars I get to ignore, but I still got to take one from here, and I get fire spreads. A fire starts in a room next to one on fire. Well, there are no rooms on fire, so I get bonus by that. And now, because I have this little black star, I get to draw an item, and I get this green book, which I guess will be an oxygen book, and it is indeed. And that's blue's first turn. They cook their way all the way over here, and now red's in last place. We're not just going around clockwise or counterclockwise. That's because that was the initial setup. We're taking the last person in line here. And red has a situation where they could fix this. Well, might as well. How big a deal is it? It's not too big with a 1 there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll spend 5 actions to do that. That gives me a 50-50 chance of succeeding. I didn't choose to do a movement action. I did not succeed. I got a 9, and now I still have to pay the penalty of 2 draws from here. First one's a reactor warm-up. The heat track goes up by 1. I'm guessing this is heat again. Luckily, I'm still in there, so that's not too terrible. And then a reactor malfunction. Advance the heat track by 2. Now it becomes much more important to clear this, because once it goes past there, it'll fall back to there. And now the red player will go underneath the yellow player there, making sure that there's a little bit more cycling of turns. And that means our next player is going to be the green player. And I'm going to take a little pause. Actually, since I've gone through my normal length of time for a video, I'm going to load this one up, and then we'll come back with another one.